This is the cheapest install that I've done on the property, and it's given me the biggest health benefit. So I made this whole hot tub for under 200 bucks, and I use this pretty much every day.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my next video. Well, we're back with Brian again. Hi Brian.
How's it going, everybody?
Brian has an amazing YouTube channel, Off-Grid Backcountry Adventures. I love his channel. I think you will too. We just shot a fantastic video talking about Brian's story and how he ended up here, and all about buying land and how to buy land and all those goodies. So go watch that. You're going to be really glad you did if you have any interest at all in buying off-grid property. Today we're going to take a tour of Brian's off-grid property and see all the work he's done, which is an astonishing amount of work. So Brian, let me tag along, and why don't you give us the grand tour?
Okay. All right. Hey, everybody. My name is Brian. As Bob said, I'm with Off-Grid Backcountry Adventures, and this is my 14-acre off-grid parcel in northern Arizona at an elevation of 5,800 feet. As you can see, this is right on the edge of my property. This is my view every time I leave to go run the errands or go into town. And I've got this awesome ridge here, which actually has a golden eagle that lives up there that patrols the skies, which is really cool to see. And so when I took ownership of this property, there was absolutely nothing done. There was no roads in, nothing had been cut. It was just 100% pure raw land. So the first day I came here, and you can see here, there were trees that were all the way across here, bushes all throughout. And I've mowed everything down and cut everything down just to ground level, and really put a lot of work into where this doesn't continue to grow back. I just had a shovel and a rake and an axe. I didn't even have a chainsaw. And so I was doing all this by hand. It was extremely slow. But as a result of it, I think it looks a little bit more natural than if I were to cut in with a blade. I've got 5 campsites other than where my camper's at, so people can come out here and camp. And they've all got a little bit of their own privacy and internet connection, so people can come out here and operate just like they can in the city. And you know, this whole homestead process that I'm doing now, this is kind of new to my channel within the last year or two, because prior to that I was just in my truck full time, and then also winter camping full time in a tent with a wood stove in Colorado. So I really had some quite interesting adventures over the past few years, and I really welcome this change, because over that time, you know, living in a small little truck like I did, the little Tacoma, and then also winter camping, you don't sleep full night ever, you know, throughout the winter. You always get up and stoke your stove or whatever. And so coming here and actually be able to get some real rest, it's just been like a lifesaver for me. And when that first night that I was staying here, I was just camped actually basically on the side of the road. And I came over here, and underneath this tree were all these relics from the cowboy era. So there was like a big old can here that was rusted out. This is actually the little, I guess, bucket, if you will, that was sitting here. And next to it were a couple of cans, which I have over at the entryway there. And then also this is from the sole of a shoe, from like a cowboy boot. And it was sitting, it was actually kind of buried in the dirt right over here. I just love the record of human history out here, because when we go down the little rock area down there, we're gonna see some stuff that's a couple hundred years old. You know, coming over here, this was the area that I kept coming back to on my property. And what I did was I actually lived for my first 8 months on the back side of my property that backs up to the state land. But I would come up here, and I loved the way this spot lived because of the views. The wind would come through here. It was a lot more breezy. I could get better cell reception because at the time I didn't have Starlink. And so I realized that being out on this land, you kind of want to live on it for a little while before you determine where you want to set up your structures. So I started clearing this area, and when I first got in here, I just had enough to back my camper in. Everything else was so thick in here you couldn't walk around because there was bushes everywhere. There were trees that were coming up. Developing raw land into usable space takes a ton of effort. So just be prepared for that, and you do it in increments. Don't do it all at once because it's too overwhelming if you look at it as one big project. After I got this all set up, I realized that I wanted to start knocking out this land back here for food production. Because one of the things that I want to do with my property here, and I'm well on my way, is to be food independent and grow my own food, have my own chickens, which I'll be getting eventually get meat birds and all that stuff, and just reduce my reliance on the city and going into town. I'm able to get the prickly pear fruit off of here, and I'm going to start harvesting this to make my own prickly pear juice. And you can also make jam from it, and you can also eat these big ones as well. Another thing I've been doing is, if you see, I've got some trees that I've knocked down. And what I'm doing is I'm going through and I'm strategically taking out some of the larger juniper trees. The reason for that is juniper trees takes a tremendous amount of water to survive. A normal mature juniper tree that's not massive, but just a normal size, will consume about 5,000 gallons of groundwater per year. And in Arizona, water is scarce anyway. And so what I want to do is transform my land into like a big water catchment area. And so when we go into the lower meadow, I'll kind of show you, give you like my long-term plan with that. But another thing it does too is it opens up the views and helps wind blow through here. Right. I want to put in about 6 or 7 more raised garden beds so I can do more food production. And I'm going to turn this area back in here into more food production because I want to add cherry trees, peach trees, orange trees, and lemon trees. And those all grow really good out here in the soil. When I cut this road in, the goal was to get back to this little rock garden that I have on my property. And this rock garden extends from this upper area here all the way down to the end. It's probably about 150 yards that it goes on. And so what I love about it, it's completely different than the rock that you see here on the ground. You know, this is kind of your typical Arizona red rock. When you go down the backside of my property, it's 100% different. So I have building materials, natural building materials here in a variety of them. Same with the wood species that I have on my property. I've got old growth juniper, which is really great for any sort of structural supports. Then I have pine trees as well, you know, and you can build a lot of stuff with pine wood. So I feel really fortunate for all the stuff I have here. Look over here, look at all these cactus that we have. This is an example of what this was like before I cleared all this out. This stuff was everywhere, but it's so great because it's edible. But we'll go down this way. This was the spot where I was living at. This is all state land behind me here. So this is 640 acres of state land. We have a little lake back in there. The lake is full year round, and it's actually got catfish and largemouth bass in it. And then I've got this rock garden over here. And the rock garden, it always looks like this. Even in the dry season, it's always green. And then one day, I walked over here and I found something truly spectacular, which I want to show you all. One of the things about this area is that there was a ton of Native American activity, but it's really been a mystery to figure out who these people were prior to when the Apache and the Yavapai were in the area. So there's a lot of record of human history out here, which is pretty spectacular. And that's one of the things that I spend the majority of my time doing, is going out and trying to seek out new Native American ruins that I haven't seen yet, and just kind of just check out what's in the area. And I came back over here and turned the corner, and then all of a sudden we have a little structure. So I came in here and I thought, let's see what's in here. And then I noticed there's all these rocks in here, and one of them is fashioned almost to an arrowhead. So you can see they were beginning to make one. You can clearly see it emerging from this rock. It just wasn't completely flint mapped yet.
Yeah.
And if you feel the sides, especially this side, it is razor sharp. And that was sitting right in here with all these rest of these rocks, just like that. And all these rocks are types of rocks that you could use to potentially flint map and make stone projectiles. The thought is if you look at this rock here and this rock here, these all fell down from this. So this piece came from that, this piece came from over there. These rocks around here, there's rocks that have fallen down. So it was probably up a little bit higher back in the day. And the thought is this was an Apache hunting blind, and the Apache were very active in this area up until about 1870. And prior to that, they ruled the land, you know, for about 300 years. And so the idea is down there is the lower wash where all the wildlife come walking through here over to the lake. So you just sit here. When the deer come by, pop up, boom, take them out. So to find this is right on the edge of my property, I was like, you have to be kidding. This is the coolest thing ever. So I actually absolutely love that. But on the southward facing slope, it's about 5 acres of land, and it all comes down, funnels down into this lower section here, which has 3 different drainages that come through, or 3 different washes. And I think that what I could do is build some rock check dams and slow down the water and spread it out and restore the wetland down here. And so the whole goal with creating these rock check dams is twofold. One, you want to spread out the water, but in order to do so, you need to build up the land back up, and so you want to trap sediment. And so all the soil that's rolling through here when these flash floods come through is really good topsoil, which is great for growing plant life again and helping the ecosystem restore to a natural balance. Because right now there's way too many juniper trees here, which turns the soil acidic. And so this rock check dam, I just made this from some of the materials from the rock garden that we just walked through, because I've got tons of it out here. And what it did, I put this in, I installed this. That night it rained. It didn't rain that much, but it rained enough to where it got sediment in there. And if you look, what I was able to do in one rain, just one rain, is raise this up 4 inches in here. This is all new sediment. All this stuff that I'm sitting on here, this looked like that. It was all just normal creek bed. But then once I put this rock check dam in, after one rain, it raised it up 4 inches. So I'm confident I can get this all the way up to here. Then when the water comes through, it spreads it out as opposed to going through one deep channel. Now I'm gonna install probably about 15 to 20 more of these just in this little area here, and continue raising it up to where I can raise the land up again and restore all the erosion that's taken place and get it back to where the water can spread out. And then when that happens, that's when I'm planting lemon trees and cherry trees and peach trees and orange trees down here. And I'm gonna make this into a food forest, including installing like 3 swales on the downward slope that will feed into this area. And the whole idea is to recharge the groundwater and store that water in the ground and make this into an oasis. My goal is to eventually get to the point to where I have no reliance on the grocery stores. Like I've got everything that I'm doing out here, you know, with meat birds, with chickens. Eventually I'll probably get some bigger animals too, maybe even some goats, you know, and really make a go of it to see how self-sufficient I can be. So that's my vision. I didn't have all this in mind when I first took ownership of the property. It's just living out here for a while. I'm like, I start getting these ideas, you know, and also too, watching stuff on YouTube with other people that are out here doing permaculture stuff and everything. I'm like, you know, I can do it out here. Heck, I got tons of sunshine and lots of rain, lots of moisture in the wintertime as well. And I'm just gonna make a go of it of turning this in, like restoring it back to a wetland. This is the cheapest install that I've done on the property, and it's given me the biggest health benefit. This is just a typical stock tank. It's a 160-gallon stock tank that you would get from like Home Depot. And what I did was I made a wood-fired hot tub out of it, just creating a pass-through. You just drill a hole through the little sidewall here. It's actually double-walled, and you just get these little gaskets that screw onto each other, and then you can put these little shark bite connectors in here and plug in your copper tubing. That's about 130 gallons worth of soaking, you know, of like hot tub in there. So I'll get in there, and the Epsom salts coupled with the essential oils is the way that I'm able to continue to jam out here, because doing all this stuff by hand, I mean, your body gets real sore. So I made this whole hot tub for under 200 bucks, and I use this pretty much every day. This is a 700 PSI copper tubing, and I recommend getting the 700 PSI for this because the ones that are just the normal copper tubings tend to split in the cold. And then I just have a little water pump, which I put in here, and I put it in the top one to suck in the top water and then make it hot to the bottom, because the hot water rises just with physics, it goes faster. But I can take like really cold water, put it in here, fill it up, and within an hour and a half, I can have it up to 104. Wow. And it's all just done, you know, just off of wood, which is a renewable resource. Okay, so this is a 1971 Yellowstone camper. It's a 19-footer. I needed a camper cover. I need something to cover this thing, because when the sun comes up in the morning, I get blasted first thing with the sun. And so all that passive solar is coming through, which is great in the wintertime and it's horrible in the summer. I didn't want to use normal posts like you would see, you know, on a normal camper cover. So I actually used trees for my property, and I harvested these from the property. This is shaggy juniper. This is in its natural form. It's not chemically treated or anything. That doesn't have to be. It performs better than Douglas fir or redwood. And, you know, it's on my property, it was free. And it also has a natural insecticide, and it doesn't rot. You're guaranteed that you can put these on the ground for up to 50 years before you'll start noticing rot on it.
And it looks like you got a whole bunch of solar.
So that's actually my next project I need to cover, is the solar, because right now the solar is right here and it's not affected. This is actually my driveway area where people park, but I get a lot of sun over here. I just need to get longer cords that go over to my garden area, because I've cleared spaces over there that I know in the summer and winter get full sun no matter where the sun's positioned out in the sky. Right here, this is 1,000 watts of solar that's out. I usually pull in about 800 into my battery. I've got an EcoFlow battery in there that helps power everything. And then I do have some other spots over here where I've got 3 other batteries that are just smaller portable batteries. So I've got an additional 800 watts, additional 700 watts out here that's powering throughout the day. I actually go into the evening with about 5 kilowatts of power. Well, thanks, Bob, for coming by and checking out my place. If y'all have any questions, make some comments below. I'll definitely be looking at them. I'll be glad to answer anything. Also, on my website, if you go there, it's just offgridbackcountryadventures.com. On my contact form that comes directly to my email, I welcome people hitting me up if they have questions about how to live off grid, how to find property, all those things. There's definitely some things to look for, and I'd be glad to point you in the right direction. So hit me up. Bob, thanks for having me on your channel. I love your videos.
So folks, I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, go subscribe to Brian's channel right now, Off-Grid Backcountry Adventures. Got anything out of this video, like us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit that thumbs up button, and we'll talk to you later. Bye now.